Take two.
Bring us in.
Welcome to the Buff Show. Today we got a market update coming your way, and this is going to be a good one. So we are covering December's numbers, December 2024.
And some new content that Paden's throwing at me last second. So
yeah, Ben's
he's
gonna,
a professional in this, so he's going to teach me up.
Ben's going to learn a few things. Today's January 17th, 2025. So I got invited to do a presentation to a group of Treasury students down in Salt Lake City yesterday, and I had to prepare this whole presentation on where the market's at, what struggles we're facing here in Utah, just like a bunch of data. And so I have some cool things that I want to go over, and then we'll jump into these other numbers because I think they coincide with what we're seeing today. So 30-year mortgage rates. Fun fact, in 1981, the worst year of mortgage rates, the average mortgage rate was 16.63%. And we have this graph that you can see all the way back to 1997. And I mean, from 1997 to 92, you were all around 8 to 10%. 93 to 2008, you were like 6% on average maybe. And then 2009 to 24, that's where we got into the lower, fours and threes. 2021 was the lowest. It got into the 2.96, and then we have rebounded back into the sixes. And that's where everybody is.
I mean, if you look at that, that's a quick sting. So we even went down really slow year over year to get down to that 2.
Yeah.
And then we came back up instantly.
Right. Mortgage rate forecast for 2025. And we shot a podcast beginning of 2024. We should go back and
check our numbers.
Everybody was predicting where we would be at. But you have NAR, First American, Realtor.com. All these big corporations are predicting where they think the interest rates are going to be. And they're all in the mid sixes, really.
Yeah, lows to the 6, highs to the
6.8.
Yeah.
So
really what I'm seeing is they don't know. They're guessing as much as we are.
Yeah, nobody knows. So this is interesting. U.S. consumer price inflation. So in 2021, we were all like 2% or just below that. 2022 and 2023 jumped up to 9% inflation. Frickin' bonkers. And that's when they spiked up interest rates and everything trying to combat it. And then if we flip to the next chart, the consumer prices. So this shows consumer prices are up 21% since 2020. That's why everybody is like, eggs, milk, gas, everything is so expensive. And lumber, we keep thinking that it's going to go back down, but I don't think it's going back down. They pumped trillions of dollars back into the economy.
I think in order to ever see anything back in your pre-2020 prices, big breaks would have to happen. Big breaks.
Well, and I think they just devalued the dollar so much with pumping so much money back into the system that these prices are here to stay. This is going over new foreclosures and bankruptcies. So you can see back in like 08, there was a big spike. And then all the way up until now, it's been pretty, like there's not a lot of foreclosures or bankruptcies. And if you jump to the next...
Let's talk about why is there not? I have a theory.
Why is there not? It's because everybody has so much freaking equity in their homes.
Yep.
They'll sell them.
Yep, they'll sell them, or I think a lot of investors are licking their lips waiting.
Yeah.
And they never make it to foreclosure.
Right. So this is a transition into delinquency, 30 plus days by loan type. You can see back in Q1 of 07, 08, 09, 2010, huge spike. And then we're still at record lows. And I think especially on the housing, so the mortgage is the yellow line. It's been climbing up a little bit, but we're still well below where we were back in the Great Recession. And then auto loans and credit cards are the highest right now. Mm-hmm. And the student loans, they dropped all the way down in 2020.
I think that's probably so because they stopped defaulting on those.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's interesting. A lot of defaults on credit cards and auto loans, mortgages, staying pretty flat. And then the next one's 90 plus days delinquent. Similar chart though. The highest ones is the auto and the credit card.
That's more of a serious 30 days. Everybody kisses 30 days every now and then.
Right. So household savings low, or savings flow. So back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, it seemed like everybody had about 10% personal savings rate.
Is that based on your how much you made a year?
Yeah, I think that's your gross income or your net income. So households were saving, up to 10%. And then 2005 to 2010, there was a pretty big dip there. That was through 2008, and then we jumped back up. 2020 is funny. What do you think that huge spike was?
Probably the stimulus money. yeah, pump it back.
Isn't that funny?
Yep.
The stimulus money, everybody had a pretty good savings rate that year, and then we've dropped way back down. So now we're like hovering around 5%.
Which is funny that the savings rate spiked, because that was the point of stimulus money, is that we would go spend it.
Right.
And stimulate the economy.
Yeah. This says Utah ranks 10th in the median sales price of single-family homes. So, and this is comparing Hawaii, California, Massachusetts, Colorado. And it's interesting because you can see the spike in 2007 and then the drop, and then the spike in like 2022 and then the drop. But almost every one of these states has rebounded pretty dang good if you look at the chart.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
If you notice, too, all these other states, Utah lags it just a little bit.
Yeah. The next one's median sales price. This is 2024 Q3. This is kind of like a heat map, and the darker colors are where the most expensive like counties are. And so you got a lot along the West Coast. It's interesting how much is targeted on the west side of the United States. Isn't that interesting? I wouldn't have
think
guessed
they're
that.
just a lot bigger counties, to be right honest with you, because I think you have the same amount, just smaller per capita. Because if you think about Morgan and Summit and Utah, those are our dark purples.
Yeah.
They're massive counties. But the prices are just very dense, and so they're probably the same on the East Coast, but not as big a county.
Yeah. So Utah, I mean, we're a pretty hot state. Idaho's got quite a bit.
Impressive, yeah.
Colorado, California. I mean, that's crazy. Up into Oregon, Washington. This next chart, so price recovery stalls. So this is the percentage change in median sales price from the peaks. And so the red line is from the peak of May of 2022. And the blue line is the peak of June of 2007. So that's the peak of like when the prices were the highest. So the red line is going to show we dropped down 15% and we've climbed back up. And it's showing we're roughly 6% under the peak of June or May of 2022.
So that we're looking at our dip right now at 15%. Not necessarily saying we're done or it can't change again. According to the 2007 drop, it took, 54 months before we hit the bottom of the 2007 crash.
Yeah.
2007, 2008.
Yeah. Well, and then, and then you can compare the dip from 2008. And so, like, that was a pretty big, like, that was a negative 24% drop. We were like a 15% drop.
In which people didn't feel that.
No.
People didn't feel it was a 15% drop.
Monthly median sales price by county. This is Davis, Salt Lake, Utah, Washington, and Weber counties. Just interesting. There's not a lot I want to cover on this one. It just is showing where things are at. But like a lot of these counties are back up to, similar prices as 2022 almost, especially Weber. Weber's higher, it looks like, than 2022. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. So median sales price and monthly mortgage payment. I remember, 10 years ago when clients were buying houses, you'd see a lot of mortgage payments, $1,000, $1,500, like very affordable and cheap and comfortable. It was very cushy and nice. And nowadays, the median monthly payment is just above $3,000 a month right now. And our median sales price is into the fives.
Just below $3,000.
Well, there's another graph that it shows it like around $3,000 a month, or just over. But it's crazy. And I think, and you've seen that, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
Like every closing, it's like people are just spending more and more and more, and the people that are locked into these low rates are like, how can anybody afford a $3,000 a month mortgage payment, or $5,000 or $6,000? And we figure it out.
We're already starting to write our grandparents' story when our kids are going to look at us and go, well, yeah, I didn't have a $1,200 a month mortgage, you know.
Right.
Back when my dad bought my house for $300,000 and paid $1,200 a month on it, you know.
You know what my grandpa used to tell me? He said 83-33. And he's like, that's how much you have to save every month to be rich. 83-33. He's like, I put that away every month.
$83.33. Oh, I thought that was like a ratio. No,
83-33.
Oh man.
But that was back. He bought a bunch of ground out in Tooele, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know all the numbers, but even my parents' first house that they bought, it was up in Cache Valley, big fixer-upper. Like, they're like, it probably should have just been torn down. And they paid like $14,000 for this property up there. And I'm like, that sounds amazing, you know?
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
You can't even buy like a beater truck for that.
Yeah, that's...
So this is the change in county-level home prices since the peak of 2022. So everything in the blue has rebounded. Everything in the yellows about plateaued or back to those levels. Everything in the orange and red is still down. So like Texas, still struggling. Nevada, there's some places, the Dakotas, California, but overall Utah, like there's some areas in Utah that have rebounded pretty well.
For the most part, Utah is healthy.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know,
I mean, maybe, you know, within 5% of
the peak.
Of the peak. It's cool, huh? Cool graphs. All right, this is interesting. Income needed to afford the median price home in Utah. So we got Weber County, $125,000. Davis County, $146,000. Salt Lake County, $153,000. Summit County, $369,000. Morgan County, $191,000.
I can't afford to live.
Do you see why I had to move out of Morgan?
You notice how they've got the valley incorporated with Weber County, right? But I'm going to tell you right now, like, it's true. It's unless you have a grandparent or someone dying off in a family and they're trying to do someone a favor, you can't afford to live in Morgan and even Weber County or buy a house unless you're both working and or have a good job. Like,
it's wild.
It's wild.
I mean, I guess they're like Emory, Millard, Beaver, but just under 100, but still.
How do you get a job out in a lot of those places?
Yeah.
You know, it's hard.
It's crazy, but I found that very interesting. And it's going to get more interesting. So cost versus renting versus owning along the Wasatch Front. So median single-family monthly payment for a single-family home, this chart's saying it's $3,500 a month.
Which I would agree.
Yeah. And then the median single-family rent, $2,100 a month. And so you can see the gap there. And if we go back 2010 to 2021, it was like there were times where it was cheaper. Yeah, owning was cheaper. And now owning is more expensive than renting. But the argument I would make here is, let's say you have a mortgage for $3,500. There is some principle, like there's value in that, in making that payment of $3,500. If you're just renting, that's 100% interest. You know,
100%.
100% interest. So if you can do everything you can to just get out of renting and get into a place and start building that principal buy down, you'll start getting the appreciation. You'll look back and you'll be grateful you did. So this just says the eroding affordability. Renters are stuck renting. This is a share of renter households that can't afford a median price home in Utah, and it's like 92%.
Of renters that are priced out of the market.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think? What do you think's happening to our natural increase of population here in Utah?
You're gonna have to define natural increase.
So
for me.
just people having babies.
Okay.
Like if we
like
weren't
the old school way of population increasing, not moving in. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I
think
actually
we're-
I know it has to be down
We're down.
because people can't afford babies. They're not wanting to have babies. They don't want to have a baby when they're living at mom and dad's house, and kids aren't moving out anymore. So it has to go down.
So this is interesting. You're right. The natural increase, that's people having babies, is down quite a bit. And we'll see this in another chart. The net migration, people coming here into Utah, is up. And the annual change is up, obviously, because we have people coming here. So let's flip the page.
But people are coming in faster than people are not having babies.
Correct. So the line above, the solid line, shows the population growth. So in 2015, 16, 17, we were on like a 1 to 2% growth rate. And then it has been slowly declining. Now we're at like in 2018, 1.73, 1.72, 1.66 in 2020. And it just keeps kind of dropping. And so,
See, and the way I read this chart, though, it is dropping, but that's because our basis is up. I think about the same amount of people, it looks like, are still moving in every year. This percentage is just lower.
yeah. So our growth rate is slowing from natural babies, but the migration, like people are coming here just because they want to be in Utah. And this shows Utah's population growth by county, 2022 to 2023. Salt Lake and Utah County were the hottest. Weber was next. Box Elder, Tooele, all those areas were up. Summit County, Washington County. So like your top
Are these
areas.
by individual residents?
I think it's households.
Households? It has to be households.
I'm not totally sure. And then if we jump to the next page, so this shows migration driving more population growth. So it shows you the percentage. So the red is natural increase. The gray is net migration. So we were like 60-40 back in 2015. 2023, we're like 60-40, but the opposite way almost. So 56% in 2023, people migrating to Utah, 44% natural increase. Moral of the story, you need to have another kid, Ben.
No. I don't know why you're trying to fight me on air.
Where are Utahns coming from? 18% California, 6% Idaho, 7% Arizona. It's super interesting to see where people are coming from. And I've sold homes from people coming in from all over the place. Definitely a lot of people from California coming in. And then this is kind of the housing demand 2024 all the way up to 2033. So this is like a 10-year projection. So they're saying, and this is households, 1.172 million is where we're at in 2024. And they're saying we're going to jump up to almost 1.5 million. And I did the math. It equated to like 27,000 new households every year.
Wow.
For the next 10 years.
27,000.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Is what the difference was. So that would be households. Like,
Do you think in this chart they're counting like a lot of your multifamily apartments as a household? Because I can see that, but I mean, man, 27,000 households, that's a crazy boom.
Yeah, I think they would be calculating that. And then the map shows where those areas are most focused. So we got Cache Valley at 10,000, Box Elder. Wait,
Yeah.
that's Box?
Cache Valley is the 10,000, Box Elder's the 4,607.
Yeah. What's the 16,000 one? Is that Weber? Weber, Davis, Salt Lake, and Utah. And then you have like St. George, down there getting a lot of new households as well. And I think this is over the 10-year period. So if you're looking at staying in the kind of the line of growth for the state, these are areas that you could focus in that I think you'll be glad that you would have bought in. So what about this? Have you heard people say or talk about, this was a few years ago, I listened to a podcast and they're like, with our natural increase in population, there might be a time, say 10, 20 years out from now, where we're in the surplus of housing and we don't have enough people to fill the houses because our population growth is down because people aren't having any more kids.
I could maybe see that overall in the nation, but I don't see it in Utah.
Yeah.
And not in at least the next 10 years.
Just because people are coming here.
Yeah, but we have a very large migration.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. Okay, let's jump into these.
All right. I won't sit here like a stick on the mud. I was really sucking that in and absorbing that there.
So we're going to jump into the market update now. Oh. We're comparing December of 2024 to December of 2023 to December 4. Yeah. You want to do the new listings?
Yep, let's do new listings. So remember, we're doing 2023 of December to 2024 of December because real estate, these lag a month. Oh, new listings you missed one, the market overview. Okay, here we go. December of 2023, we had 2,738. December 2024, 2,654. So we're actually down in December about 3%, which we've been up the past 12 months. That's the first month in 12 that we've been down on new listings.
And the problem is there's people that are just married to their rate that don't want to leave their low interest rate. So people are only moving right now unless they really have to. I asked that group in Salt Lake yesterday. I'm like, how many are you might want to move but can't or won't because of your interest rate? And it was like a lot of them. All of them had like 3-4% interest rates, and they're like, I love my payment.
and I agree with that. But here's my question: why is it only in December?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because I get that because I think there's a lot of lateral moves going on right now where people are taking their huge equity in their homes, and I think it's the one with these low rates because with the people that got in with these low rates also got in with a lot better of price,
right? And so they're able to change it up.
Yeah, it's the ones that bought pre 2022. And then they refinance, so they have a great rate with an extremely low monthly payment. So I think they're making laterals and almost going in paid off home, or they're downsizing to a paid off home.
Right. Yeah, it is interesting.
I've seen that quite a bit where people are stepping down.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've seen that a fair amount of times too. So pending sales, the count of properties which offers have been accepted in a given month. We are down 10%. Whoa.
It's a big jump. That's a 23% swing.
Yeah,
from last month.
That's crazy. I don't know why. No idea. We're not.
The Christmas spirit was strong. No one. Yeah, that's why. So closed sales. So this is going to give us what actually happened in November. The results of November. So we had. Actual sales that closed in a given month. So we're up 13.2% from year of 2023.
Which is interesting. Down on, you know what it could have been too? I think I know why there was less pending.
Lay it on me.
Elections.
Yeah, there was a lot of people just waiting.
I mean, I had so many people saying like, I'm just going to see what elections do. It seemed like everybody was doing that.
Yeah, but technically pendings... I guess that's true. When people aren't listing, then there's not as much out there. It just brings everything down.
Yeah.
But November, people were confident, during the election.
Right.
They were confident. And then after, I think a lot of people wanted to see.
Yeah.
On the close.
All right. So days on market until sell. We are up 14% from that of last year. So this is the average days on market between when a property is listed and when an offer is accepted. So it's not from time list to sell. It's list to under contract. So today well, I guess December 2024, we were on average 65 days on market. So if you're a seller wanting to sell, that's roughly the time frame that you should expect on average for the state of Utah. It's going to take a few months before you get something tied up, locked in, under contract, and that's okay. And we say this every time, but if you look back 2008, 2009, 2010, we were up over 125 days on market. So
we're finally getting to about an average
Yeah.
over the last 20 years.
I'd say it's a good, healthy spot to be in.
Okay, median sales price. This is where you take all of the numbers, the sales, add them together, then divide by how many that actually sold. So 2023 of December, the median sales price is $475K. This last December, 2024, was $500K. So we're up $25,000, which is a 5.3% increase, which, I mean, that tracks. Yeah, it tracks all of our other charts. We hit a dip a year and a half ago. That was what we would call our lull, and we've just been slowly climbing back out of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's been pretty flat, stable increases, but we are coming out. And it's funny, the average or the median shows less than where we were in 2022, but the average shows we're higher. So our average sales price last year, or 2020, December of 2023, we were $615. December of 2024, $678. We're up 10%. That's crazy. And we're above that of the average of 2022. So
I said that wrong. Median is where you line them all up and whack them off on the ends until you get to the center.
Oh, yeah, you did say
The
that.
average is the amounts divided by the cells.
I was not paying attention.
Yeah,
as
you got to watch me, and we're going to look like fools. Okay, percent of original list price received. So for what you put your property up for sale and what you actually receive at the closing table. So we are right now in December of 2024, we're getting about 96.1. In 23, we were getting about 95.5. So not even a full percent swing. That's stayed fairly consistent over the last 12 months. I mean, we've been up or down 1%. So I like that number. I think agents are valuing the houses correctly. I think people are actually negotiating, and we're coming happy mediums. We're using that 4%, I think, a lot in this is not accounting for concessions. So this is just right off the purchase price.
Yeah,
So
this doesn't include seller-paid closing costs.
I think that's a real healthy give and take there.
If you were to include seller-paid closing costs, I would put us probably closer to 94%.
Right.
You know what's interesting? I'm going to ask you a question. Looking at this chart, when's the best time to try and buy a house?
Well, looking at this chart,
Like, look at all the
month-wise.
Yeah, like all the ebbs and flows on every month. Like there's a pattern.
Oh yeah,
in spring, summer, it spikes up. Like
October to December is when you want to try to buy. To January right now.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Like this chart is proof that sellers will take less for their homes. They'll negotiate more in the months October, November, December, January, February. And then you're going to pay more in March, April, May, June, July, August. That's wild.
And I think a lot of that is that's when people that have homes, they don't want to move in the winter right after Christmas, in the middle of a school year.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really pushes that. So the ones that are active, that can move, are sitting longer and just a little more desperate, I think.
Yeah. That's crazy. Okay, the Housing Affordability Index. This is interesting. So this covers how affordable the housing market is. So, and this is taking the median household income, the median price home, and prevailing interest rates. So you can see back in 2010 to 2014, we were pretty affordable. We have dropped to all-time lows, and we are continuing to remain there. The bad part is I think people get comfortable with like a base thermostat level, like, and they get comfortable with their payments, right? So even if prices or interest rates, say interest rates were to drop, my fear is prices would just shoot up because people are like, oh, well, I'm okay with this payment, like we've got accustomed to this level of payment and overhead.
Monthly in and out, and
Yeah.
not just.
And so I don't know how you get back out of that easily because the demand's still out there, right?
You don't. I think, just like we talked, the prices are up. The only thing I think we have is we have to let wages catch up.
Yeah.
Which it's just a give and take. With wages going up, cost of goods also go up, and the affordability goes up.
The one thing that could help a lot is if we got a lot more inventory to like help the demand, like help feed the demand, and then that would start to pull down the prices. But I don't see that happening anytime soon.
I think it's just so hard nowadays to new builds.
Yeah.
And just the amount of money that people have. The dirt is so expensive.
Dirt
to do that.
Construction is
Yeah.
expensive. The labor's expensive. Everything is just crazy.
I think a lot of these bigger builders, even though they have large amounts of money, it's still hard for them. But all your medium and your middle guys, they just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So you're getting the big builders are the only ones that are really building, and then the few that can hold on to it, be able to afford the dirt.
Yeah. All right. Inventory of homes for sale.
Whoa, this one's mine.
Oh.
Inventory of home for sale. Don't get greedy on me. So December 2023, we had 10,085. December 2024, we had 10,893. These are active, any home that is active status at the end of the given month. So we have an increase of inventory of about 8%, which I guess tracks.
But going along what we were saying before, like in 2008 to 2012, there was like 20 to 30,000 homes on the market. We're still at 10,000. And in the lull of 21 to 22, there was under 5,000 homes, which is bizarre. Like that's what like skyrocketed our prices. All right, month supply of inventory. So we'll ask you what kind of market do you guys think we're in? And I asked this question yesterday. Are we a buyer's market or seller's market? I thought way more people were going to say we are in a buyer's market, but everybody was like seller's market. I found that interesting. So the definition is month supply of inventory. This is how long it would take for us at our current inventory levels. If we weren't to get any new listings, how long would it take with our demand till we were out of inventory? And it's 3.1 months of inventory. We've been that since 2022. So our inventory levels our month supply of inventory is staying pretty stagnant. Supply and demand, that's a good way to look at that. A buyer's market is anything over 6 months supply. A seller's market is anything less than 6 months supply. So we are very still much in a seller's market.
I've been thinking about this, and I used to not like the definition and how it did that, but honestly, I think a seller's market yields it's very indicative of a healthier moving economy.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a buyer's market, it's because people are out for the pickings, right?
Yeah.
It's too slow. Stuff's not churning.
Yeah.
And so don't get discouraged, buyers. Just because it's the seller's market doesn't mean it's bad.
Right.
It just means the economy's good, because in a buyer's market, if you're not working or there's not enough jobs out there, it might be a buyer's market, but unless you have your money in line, you're not a buyer.
Yeah. Well, and everybody's praying for buyers, like a buyer's market. Like, I can't wait till the market crashes. And it's like, okay, yes, it would be nice to be able to pay less for a home, but trust me, your income
life gets harder.
Life will get harder. It's when there's blood in the streets, it's not like you can just go out and make all this money. Every industry is going to suffer. So it's funny that people wish that on kind of the market. Like, we just need to get prices back down. And prices will likely not adjust a whole lot with what we have done to the economy. The amount of money that we pumped into the system, like, we're not seeing appreciation. We're just seeing huge amounts of inflation. 21% in consumer goods inflation. Like, it's not going down. Like, if there's only $100 in the system and we put $150 into the system, like, naturally things are just going to cost more.
going back to that same, we get in these rants with old contractor buddies of mine, and we talk about like, our price is ever going to go back, and we always come to that same conclusion. We sit and bitch about, oh man, stuff's so expensive, but yet we're out there buying it and putting it in homes and building and selling and, moving and shaking, because healthy or not healthy, I'm not an economist, but people are making money still.
Mm-hmm.
They're still able to work. And that's one thing we said. The only way for prices to go down is that break, right?
Mm-hmm.
That people wish for but don't actually understand. It only goes down when everybody goes out of business, when manufacturers can't afford to send you stuff, so they're breaking.
Yeah.
It's just a global
when people stop spending
crunch,
money.
yeah.
Yeah, and everybody feels it for sure.
So,
well, hopefully you guys find this insightful. As we head into this new year, I hope you can make us part of your plans if you have any real estate plans. Do you have any tips or advice for buyers and sellers right now as we go into 2025?
yeah, 100%. Start getting your stuff ready right now if you're going to sell, because there's going to be an inrush, just like we've seen on all our charts come March, April. That's a good time to list because it's always up, but be ready so you can be quick on the market.
Yeah, I've had a few sellers ask me when the best time to list is, and it's been interesting. The past 5 years, I noticed the market heated up like a little bit earlier every time, and I had this conversation yesterday. They're like, do you think should we plan on April? And I'm like, honestly, if you can be ready end of February, beginning of March sometime,
That's exactly what I've been telling my clients.
you can beat the rush of supply, but still catch the rush of demand because it's starting to come out earlier and earlier. And so, and then you don't have to worry about your yard as much and all this other stuff that, because hopefully there's still snow if we ever get any snow.
Right.
So I think end of February, beginning of March is a great time to try and get something moved right now.
For sure. I agree 100% to be a little early on it because the demand pushes supply.
Yeah. And if you're a buyer, I would say anytime your
right
plans.
now, if you're a buyer right now.
Yeah. If you're a buyer right now is an amazing time to get out there. And it's interesting. I was out showing homes yesterday. Dark. I kind of hate showing homes in the wintertime because it can be 5:30, 6 o'clock, and it feels like it's 10 o'clock at night.
You're not seeing stuff that you should normally see.
But we were running into multiple people at showings already, having to wait outside of houses because there was people out looking. I'm like, huh.
Gross.
There's already, I know this one house that we looked at, there's going to be multiple offers on. So be ready. I think it's going to be an interesting year. I think it'll be a pretty flat year. Rates might come down a little bit. It'll be a pretty balanced year, I would say.
Money-wise, how much do you think the average kid needs to have saved up?
For a first-time home?
Yep.
First-time home buyer? I think if you could have around 20 grand, you'd be in a good spot.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
That we expect these kids to have 20 grand. Remember when we were in high school, did you ever have 20 grand?
That was a lot.
Ever?
Yeah.
You might have made 20 grand in a year.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I
you can
will
still
agree.
do it with less. But man, you need to start saving. There's ways to get into houses, house hacking. There's ways you can get creative to help those payments. So, okay. Well, hopefully this was insightful. If you guys need anything, reach out. And until next time, thanks, guys.